Hey, Candace, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brittany. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, definitely excited to have you here. Where are you calling from?
I am calling in from Los Angeles.
LA, nice. Well, we always
Yes.
love to kick off our interviews with learning more about our guest. And, a lot of the guests that come on the show, I kind of know them a little bit already. So I'm really excited because I don't know you. So I'm excited to also, like right here, right now on the record, learn a little bit more about you. So tell us
Yeah.
where you're from, like what's your background, and how did you get into this business that you're in now?
Yeah. So my background is in computer science, and I am from Atlanta, Georgia. And I fell in love with technology at a young age and pursued computer science at Georgia Tech and studied human and computer interaction, amongst many other things. But I really just kind of cultivated my love for technology and beauty, and started my company MyAvana to really provide personalized guidance for hair care. And that just really opened so much for me, and I'm excited to kind of dive into that more today.
Yeah. Have you always been entrepreneurial, or did you have like a corporate job and get tired of it, or what happened?
Yeah, I have always been entrepreneurial. I actually started a consulting firm when I was in college, for web design, digital marketing. But when I graduated, I wanted to make some money, to be
Mhm.
honest, get a good salary for a little bit. And I did go into corporate IT for 1 year, before I decided to quit and start my company. So the work experience was great, but I really wanted to pursue my dreams to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I can relate. I've had one like job where I wasn't my own employer so far.
Yeah,
And it was about 1 year worth. I was like, okay, did it, been here, done that. I need to go start another company.
exactly.
So when did you start MyAvana?
I actually started in June 2012. So I'm coming up on 10 years in business this summer.
Oh.
And so, yes, I've learned so much. And, some people may have heard the quote that it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. So let's just say I will be an overnight success soon.
I love that. I recently heard from Bryony Cole. She's kind of like the equivalent to me, but in sex tech. And she said,
Mm.
Britt, it's at 2 years podcasters start to really get traction. So I said, okay, March 2022, it's my 2 years. So you
Oh,
and I are
yeah.
both like ready to be birthed
Oh,
into
yeah,
success.
absolutely.
Well, I definitely want to tease apart like that journey of, what was it 10 years ago? What was it in the middle? What is it now? But just in general, tell us, what is MyAvana?
Yes, MyAvana is a beauty technology company, and we've created a way to provide personalized recommendations for your hair based on your unique hair type, texture, and condition. And we do this using AI technology, which has the ability to analyze your hair, right? Because all of our hair is different based on, our biology. And our research shows that your hair is as unique as your fingerprint. And so when we do this analysis, it breaks your hair down, and creates a unique hair ID. And then we're able to match that with the exact products that will give you the best results. So that's what MyAvana does.
Love it. And, on your website, it seems like it's for Black women and Black women's hair. Is that the case, or is it for white women's hair too?
Yes, it's for all hair textures, but Black women was our first target market, given my background as a Black woman, and really because we had a huge pain point since a lot of us went through this transitioning movement of no longer wearing chemicals in our hair, like relaxers, and we were discovering our natural hair for the first time. And so the natural hair movement really took off starting in 2008. So by 2012, there was so much YouTube content online, so much need for better products. At that time, we probably only had a very small section in the aisle of products that work for textured hair. And now the market has grown so much. There are aisles worth of different brands. And we really focus on the science of hair. And that's for any hair texture, any hair type. And so now we have customers of all ethnicities, and even men too, because men are wearing curly hair now or being more conscious about taking care of themselves, grooming. And so when you look at the personal care space, it's grown so much. And so, we have expanded to customers of all ethnicities and around the world. So we have customers in all countries as well. So it's pretty fun. Yeah.
How do you see the intersection of hair and health, right? Because you said you're a beauty technology company, right? And some people, even myself, I get a little like when people start to say, oh, FemTech, women's health, that includes makeup. And I'm like, does it though? Does it though? Like,
Right.
it's almost insulting to like the cancer survivors or the uterine fibroid women, right? Like it's almost insulting. But I was excited for this interview and I agreed to it because I do see that you are, it's not just about like, oh, attract more men with your beautiful hair. It's like, no, this is a part of your body that has needs, right? So tell us more about your philosophy, because I'm projecting. So based on your branding and how awesome your website is with all the science. But so tell us, where in your mind does that health and hair and beauty kind of intersect?
Yes, absolutely. Well, when I started my research on the science of hair, I actually discovered that your hair is the longest record of the condition of the health of your body. And so your hair actually contains memory of the condition of your body. So let's think about that for a second. Some of the hair analysis reports we've done or that are available provide a report on the amount of toxins in your body, the certain nutrition deficiencies in your body. And so I thought, wow, this is very interesting. And I wanted to do my due diligence with the research first before releasing this with our product. So we had stayed on the cosmetic side up until this point. But we are going to release the option to get an analysis of your health. And so what's amazing about this, as women, we're used to taking care of our health, of our hair, and often neglect our health, right? But now we can do both together. And from my research, it is used for pre-detection, early detection of things, anywhere from certain cancers or, again, deficiencies of certain nutrients and vitamins in your body. And so that is the intersection of hair and health for us, on top of the fact that a large percentage of our customers are reporting issues with hair loss. And when we have our virtual consultations, some of the questions that we ask are, what is the state of your health like, right? So you may come to us because you're having issues with hair loss or shedding or breakage or thinning, right? But our philosophy is that the health of your hair happens from the inside out. And so when we're seeing these challenges, sometimes it may need to look at your internal health, right? Your nutrition, your diet, and also stress levels. We are seeing so many women report higher stress levels, and that has an effect on your hair too. And so it was, a no-brainer for us to merge, at the intersection of hair and health, because your health affects your hair. And if we can play a role in helping women prioritize their health, then that only strengthens, the mission of our company. And so that's how these worlds are converging. And we'll be doing actually several series on health and hair. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I firsthand account, I am someone who's, when I'm stressed, I lose hair, and it makes the stress so much worse, because I'm like, oh my God, my ponytail is so little. And I mean, other people say they can't notice it, but I notice. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's kind of thinning on the sides. And luckily at this point, I've been to the doctors previously. And unfortunately, when I went to the physician, she said, oh, maybe you have like thyroid issues. We did blood work, came back normal. And she was like, well, I don't know, maybe you have a dermatology issue, and sent me to dermatologist. But like, at the end of the day, what it actually was like a massive amount of stress and an active eating disorder, which no one asked me about either one of those, which is crazy. She's like, you have a skin issue. And I'm like, she didn't even ask me, like, what's your life like? Like, are you eating? What's your nutrition? Right? Because I would maybe, who knows where I was at the time, but maybe I would have revealed like, oh yeah, like not very good. So do you notice that with your consultations with women that there are like time points in women's lives when they are like at risk of hair, like, you know, falling out or breaking, like pregnancy, menopause? Tell me about that part.
Yes. So we actually think of our customer journey from two perspectives, their hair journey and their life journey. And so when we look at their life journey, some things that we ask are, you know, what recent changes have happened in your life? And so we've seen some correlation around a new job, right? So new job, perhaps maybe in a role of greater responsibility, higher stress, also divorce, women who are recently divorced, starting over in life, new mothers entering motherhood, right? We all know about the postpartum shedding. And so there are these different life changes that, you know, spark different things. And so we are seeing how these changes, you know, kind of show up, you know, in your life in different ways. And so those are some of the things that, you know, certain life events that impact your health from the perspective of when it becomes hard to manage or stressful to manage. And so, you know, we have to think about how we take care of ourselves during those times, right? Because greater support is needed. And so that's just, you know, some of the examples that we're seeing. So we're really kind of looking at it from a holistic, you know, life perspective too.
You know, 2 years ago, my sister had a baby and I visited her and she had all these little baby hairs. And I was like, girl, what are you doing? Like, what, did you try to cut it or what happened? Like they're sticking up. And she goes, no, it's because I had the baby. My hair fell out. And I was like, that's a thing. And she was like, yep. Yes. And I was like, all right, no one's talking about this. And so can you tell us real quickly, like, what is that phenomenon of hair falling out after you give birth? And do you know why that happens?
Yeah, it's related to hormonal changes. Also shock, you know, shock and trauma in the body. So sometimes, depending on how the labor and delivery went. But majority, there's some level of hormonal changes that you'll see, you know, that cause the hair loss at some level. And some is worse than others, some is better than others. So it's really unique to your experience. But that trauma in the body, you know, creates a reaction that, you know, sparks the hair loss. And so that's you know, how a lot of this happens, you know, in any, you know, amount of stress that the body is handling triggers that response as well.
Interesting. Can you walk us through like a customer journey? Because I love what your platform is, because that's what it is. It's a platform. Like you have this consultation, you have a hair sample, like walk us through all the stages and like what happens.
Yes. So our customer journey follows the CARE system, CARE, which stands for consult, analyze, recommend, and educate. So those are the 4 stages that we walk you through for your hair journey. And it's an experience of sharing information, right? So in the consultation, sharing your hair goals, your hair challenges, speaking with an expert. So we have professional cosmetologists that conduct these consultations, because sometimes you just need to talk to an expert and have that one-to-one guidance. Then the analysis happens when you send in your hair samples. Then you get your recommendations in a digital hair profile. And those are recommendations of products, ingredients, regimens to follow, as well as a stylist in your area, professional stylist. And then we educate you through content throughout your hair journey based on your hair goals, even hairstyles. Because, you know, we reach the woman who doesn't have enough time to watch YouTube and experiment, right? You just want to know what you need to do, how to do it. And so we really simplify this whole process through our care system.
when you get the hair sample, how does hair get analyzed? I imagine like some scientists under a microscope looking at it, but like, is that actually what it is, or how do you
Yes.
analyze hair?
Yes, so I was able to set up our first lab in the nanotechnology building at Georgia Tech, and I recruited chemists and biologists to train them as our hair analysts. And so they are the ones in the lab that look at your hair under a microscope. And the microscopic view really shows us the condition of your hair, the condition of your strands, things that you don't even realize. And so some of the things we typically see is a lot of product buildup, a lot of breakage, and things that you can't really see with the normal eye. And so our team of analysts are amazing. They're also passionate about hair. And so we really recruit women in the STEM fields and open up new career paths in the beauty industry. So yes, so your strands are in good hands when they arrive in our lab.
What are the factors that you're analyzing? Because I saw on your website, there's like hair type, strand, porosity. Like, tell us about those different categories.
Yes, so we're really looking at your porosity, the elasticity, density, and health. And so porosity is your hair's ability to retain moisture. So think about if your hair is always dry, right? If it feels dry, that means you either have low or high porosity, which means your hair, either the moisture is not getting into the strand or it's not retaining the moisture once it's applied. And so that is very key because dryness is the leading cause of breakage. So if your hair is breaking off or you feel like your hair isn't growing, there's typically a moisture or hydration issue there. Then we look at elasticity, which is your hair's ability to go from straight to curly and curly to straight. So how versatile is it, right? Because, you know, we like to change our hair a lot, right? And wear different styles. But if you have poor elasticity, then you might see your hair snaps, like when you comb it, or if you wear a curly style, then your hair feels like limp or frizzy, like when you try to do something else with it. And so we look at that elasticity, we look at the overall health, the condition of the strands, and then your density is the volume. And so these are like, you know, all the variables that we're breaking down, you know, scientifically. And that really, those are the missing ingredients when you're using a product and you feel like it's not working, then there's usually something deeper going on. And so that's why we take, you know, these measurements of the strand to get it on the right path.
Oh, that is so interesting. What is some of the history behind hair care and race and sexism, I guess, too, because I feel like women were told to, you know, iron their hair with a little literal iron, you know, and Black women were told to relax their kinks and put chemicals in there. So can you tell us a little bit about the history of, since you've been in this industry for 10 years, right? Like, what is that history of, you know, beauty standards, but it maybe being in the white male's eye versus what beauty is today?
Exactly. Well, our society has been heavily influenced by European beauty standards, you know, and this even goes down to the ads that we see in the media, right? There's always this long, blonde, flowy hair, and that is the best, you know, that is what we should aspire to. And so, you know, for Black women, there was this, you know, pressure to that your hair has to be straight to be beautiful, or even for curly haired women, period, that, you know, your curly hair didn't belong in the workplace, right? Like there are all these, you know, limitations and really these unfair standards that were, you know, pressed upon us, you know, subconsciously. This has really been a subconscious thing, because when you look at the media and even in certain, let's think about music videos, commercials, billboards, right? You've been constantly projected with these images of what you should look like instead of being empowered to be and look as you were created to be, right? And so that has really plagued, our society in terms of, race and gender and what and just being suppressed, right? I think overall women have been suppressed and have felt that they have to fit in a certain box to be accepted. And so we're really, breaking barriers in self-acceptance, self-esteem, and feeling confident that who you are naturally is beautiful, right? You don't have to, apply any synthetic things to be beautiful, right? You don't have to get plastic surgery. You don't have to dye your hair and straighten it. You don't have to, all these things that we're kind of unlearning. And, because of that, that has driven this industry in a certain way, where ultimately it's us embracing our natural selves and being confident enough to step out into the world that way. And part of this does require policies at this point, because people with natural hair have been discriminated against in the workplace, in different circumstances, right? And so, our government has a hand in this. Policies at different companies and corporations have a hand in this. And so it's really the way this industry has evolved is in the context of race in America. And so it's kind of like battling two things at once, right? Internally, cultivating yourself, empowering yourself, and then externally fighting this larger battle of race and discrimination. So it's very interesting, and, I think I've learned a lot as a founder, because of this. And, it's just where things have been, but we're part of the change that we want to see as well.
How have you seen the industry change in the last 10 years? Is there like different standards for products? Is there different priorities when it comes to health hair? Tell us more about that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing has been the push for clean beauty, clean products, clean ingredients, right? I am amazed at what products have been able to get away with, for so long in terms of the toxic ingredients that are in them. And so, clean beauty has been one of the biggest things. So now there are a lot of vegan products, organic products, things, that, with healthy ingredients. And so that has really shifted the industry a lot. And then on top of that, staying away from chemicals too. And so relaxers were the first big push, but even now looking at keratin treatments, that is, some people, say that keratin treatments are safe, but you have to realize that even that is still a chemical treatment. And so you have to just be careful with, just the effects of that. And, I would just say, aside from that, just an oversaturation of products now. And so there's a lot to navigate, which is, one of our main value propositions. But I think that's kind of been, a couple of the biggest industry changes over this past decade.
Yeah, I turned 30 this last summer, and there's been certain things in my life where I'm like, maybe I should start looking at different kind of face cream. Like I've been using the same like cleanser for 5 years. Like maybe I should consider this or that. But when I go to something like Target, I mean, the aisles are never ending. I'm like, I don't even know where to start. And then I think I select something I want and I go to the next aisle and I'm like, oh, these look cool though. Or I'm like, I don't know. How about hair dye? That's one thing that I do. I do like at home in the box hair dye. Is that still like super toxic and terrible for you?
Yes, well, you just have to use the right dyes. You do. I'm gonna keep it real. You just have to use the right dyes. Like pay attention to the boxes, because even hair dyes have changed a lot in terms of them being safe to use at home, safe to apply to your hair, and ensuring that you are taking care of it once the dye is applied, because hair color really shifts your porosity to higher porosity, which means the cuticles on your hair strand have been lifted. And so it's harder to retain moisture. So if you do use hair dyes at home, you need to have a good deep conditioning treatment to protect the integrity of your hair. And so things like that, like the hair dye product companies won't emphasize that as much because they're just trying to sell you the hair dye. But you have to just know how it will impact your hair and what you need to do so that, it remains healthy.
Do you mind giving us a quick 411 on hair anatomy? Because you just said cuticle, and I'm like, I thought those were just on fingers. So what are the main parts of a hair strand, and like, why do they exist?
Yeah, so you have, think about hair as proteins. There's a shaft of the hair strand, and then there's a cuticle layer that protects, what's in the hair shaft. And so a cuticle layer, you can actually think about it like fish scales. If you've seen fish scales before, that's literally how the cuticles lay on your hair. And so different things that you do to your hair, even, from combing, brushing, like if you tie it up with a tight hair tie, like all these things, it affects that cuticle layer, which is protecting what's inside the hair strand. And so I think that's a quick high level view of it. And so that is essentially what we're breaking down when we do your hair analysis, because you won't know these things, but from a scientific view, that's how we kind of understand, the condition of your hair, but that's just a high level view of it.
Love it. Thank you for that 411. And then what about the root? Is there anything you can tell about the health of the hair strand from the root of it, or is it mostly the strands itself?
Yes, so the root actually is a good view of the condition of your scalp. And so, your scalp emits, certain oils naturally, but sometimes you may have dry scalp or you may have scalp condition. And so that really looking at the root of your hair, we can kind of really get a sense of where your scalp is, because we're now doing a scalp analysis if you come on site to one of our salon partners, because the scalp honestly is the foundation of healthy hair. And a lot of people don't a lot of people don't realize that, scalp care is just as important. And so, so that does come from, seeing the roots of your hair strand.
Interesting. What is something that you wish everyone knew about hair? Like, it's probably the thing that once you have a glass of wine, you're like, all right, everyone, listen up. If you didn't know this, you need to know this. Like, what is the thing that you wish everyone knew about hair?
Yeah, I would say one thing I wish people knew is like your hair is kind of like a plant. If you think about how you have to water a plant, nurture it, give it sun, right? If you want your hair to grow and you want it to be healthy, think about it as taking care of a plant and watering it, keeping it hydrated. That will go very far in terms of your hair having the versatility that you want it to have, the health, the style, the shine, right? Because, when you want shiny hair, beautiful hair, voluminous hair, right? That all comes from having healthy hair. And so if you take care of it and keep it hydrated, one thing we always highly recommend is steam therapy. When you steam your hair, that really gives it a lot of moisture retention and keeps it strong. That is one of the things that we kind of like preach all the time. And
I've
so
never
think of your
heard,
hair.
yeah,
Yeah.
about steaming my scalp. I've never heard, how do I even do that? I can do that at home?
You can get a steamer. Yeah, you can get like a hooded steamer where you can just sit under it, or you can get a handheld steamer and just steam your hair, after you wash it. Because the more you keep it hydrated, the stronger it will be. And so
Does,
that's what I wish people knew.
yeah, is taking a hot shower equivalent to that? And also, does hot water or cold water hurt hair?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. So we sometimes recommend, like, if you don't have a steamer or can't get one, run a hot shower, because the steam from the shower, is exactly what it is.
Steam is steam, yeah.
That's the steam that we're getting, that we want to get. And so yeah, so that works. And actually temperature does make a difference. And so after you condition your hair, we always recommend to rinse it with cool water. So cool water is better for the product application of conditioner.
As this is a personal question, just because I like to throw it, let's go science, let's go theory. As a woman who runs a hair tech company, do you feel like obligated to have good hair every day? Like, I know for myself, when I started the podcast and said we're going to do the recordings, I said from day one, I'm not doing my makeup, because I'm not going to hold myself to that standard throughout the whole show. For however many episodes I do, I'm going to show up like myself. So for you as a founder of a company, I think a lot of people, they found something because they are passionate about that topic. So have you just always been into your own hair, or like, do you feel obligated today to have good hair? Like, tell us about that.
I do. Honestly, I do. I feel like I'm a walking billboard. So I always have to keep my hair nice. But the thing is, I love hair. I love doing hair. I love doing my hair. But the thing is the time now, right?
Yeah.
Like, as a busy businesswoman, it's just now having the time. So I literally thought this morning that I'm about to get braids, because I'm in a mode where I just don't have the energy right now, to wash my hair. And if I wish you guys could see me, I know you're listening, but I have a lot of hair. I have very thick hair, and it's like a minimum 3-hour process to just wash my hair, and from start to finish. And so right now, I just don't have the energy, because my business is growing, and I'm 3 hours, like, right. Yeah. So I'm going to get braids soon, because
oh, wow. So I want to like switch gears a little bit here. Pubic hair, it's still hair, right?
Yeah.
Like, how is it different than the hair on your head? And do you think that we need a better understanding or technology around pubic hair?
That's a really good question. Hair is hair.
Hair is hair, right?
No matter where it grows, right? And so I actually love this question a lot, because this really goes to vaginal health, and really, taking care of your vagina, right? And, I guess where I am with this question is more around like, hair removal, and, whether you do waxing or laser hair removal, because, your hair down there does, it can carry things, right? So when we talk about vaginal health, we're usually talking about keeping it cleansed and clean, right? And there are amazing products like the honey pot that help you with that, but that includes your pubic hair too, right? So, and actually, just on this note, as a mother, I actually gave birth to twins about a year ago. And I did not really see my hair down there for a while. And I came to a point where I'm like, well, I need to do something about this. So yeah, it's just as important, honestly.
It's a conversation we have to have, because similarly, again, my sister had a baby 2 years ago, and I don't know how this came up, but there was some joke, and her husband was there, and they made some joke about like, oh yeah, and it got kind of crazy down there. It was like a whole forest.
Yeah.
Like, you're not allowed to shave. And she was like, Britt, when you're pregnant, like you can't see or reach that area.
You
And
cannot.
I was
No,
like,
you cannot.
I did not think about this. I did not think about this. You're right. Like, oh, and
You
so
cannot.
like, whoa, just thinking about like,
Yeah, it's real. It's real.
and I just wonder, you know, because obviously it's, you know, part of the body that honestly society tells women to get rid of, right? To like,
Right.
you know, or to make a landing strip, which is so sexual and like not is about the other person. And, you know, I don't,
Right.
so I just always am curious. We've had one other hair interview out of 160 interviews on the show. And I asked her as well about the pubic hair, and she was like, never really thought about it. So it's like, why are we not talking about that area that's being waxed, bedazzled, dyed,
Right.
sexualized, but also like not taken care of if our bodies are not like flat, you know?
Right. Right.
So yeah, I don't know. You know, in your 10 years, has anyone asked you these questions, or like, is this totally
No, actually.
like, no, see, is that crazy?
No,
so
actually, no.
You're the
And
queen
that's,
of hair, and no one's asking about
yeah,
the other hair.
right.
Other bush
That's
we got.
interesting. And actually, you know what? That just gave me an idea. We're doing a hair and health series. You know, maybe we need to bring on an OBGYN and talk about that.
Yeah, because I'm sure that they get like ingrown hair infections, right? And I have
Yes.
questions that are maybe not my business, and that's fine, right? That's why I have a podcast, because I invite people on for me to ask them questions. But I like
Right.
to think I ask the questions other people have as well. So like Black women's hair is all different textures, or white women's hair, there's curly hair and all this stuff. Like, does that translate to pubic hair too? Is pubic hair curly and kinky or different textures as well?
It is. Yes, it is.
How interesting. See,
Yeah.
I have more questions.
Right. Part two.
Yeah, part two. But I think that there could potentially be you know, a lot more products. I mean, God, we have so many hair on our head products. I don't see any pubic conditioners, or, you know, do you know of any products for that area?
You know what? No, I only really use, you know, the vaginal products, you know, like the honey pot. I just use that everywhere down there. So, yeah.
Well, we're actually getting Beatrice on the show in a few weeks. So I'm
so
excited.
perfect.
I'm so excited for that. I'm going to ask her. Well, Candace, this has been so awesome. We have two last questions that our listeners really love. The first one is, we have a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs that listen. So what's an area in women's health and wellness besides pubic hair products? Because we just established that that is a need. What are other, what's another area in women's health and wellness that you think still needs innovating?
That's a really good question. I would definitely say our hormonal health, because it impacts so many things, like about our mood, our stress, even the health and condition of our body. And I think it needs innovating, because I think it's a lot of it is things that we don't know, and therefore we don't have control of. And so, like, when we have mood swings, or we have headaches, or we're not feeling well, right? A lot of women don't know the cause of it and not aware of it, you know? And so, like, there's one app that I use called Flow, the period tracking app. And I noticed that it had a lot more content around that, like your hormones related to your cycle. But I'm curious, even just beyond our cycle, or how much is driven by our cycle versus other things, and then what is hereditary. I just think that there's such a lack of awareness around that, and I think if we knew more, we could be more in control of our health as women. So I'm interested to see more in that space.
I love that answer, because historically hormone monitoring or studying has been only done so in the context of getting women pregnant. But it's like our hormonal fluctuations correlate to migraines, or, you know, you said mood swings, or maybe what if it was also triggers, you know, a PTSD trigger, something, you know, a certain hormone is higher, you know, like, because for me, I quit I quit smoking a while ago and I'm very proud about that. But there is something about when it's a nice day after the winter and you step outside, just there's something about the smell of spring that I'm like, I just want to smoke. And I know like, oh, but that's like some internal memory, right? So what potentially could there be in your menstrual cycle or your hormone fluctuations that sparks a memory for you or or an urge? Maybe, you know, I mean, I guess chocolate, right, is like the stereotypical, you're on your menses, you want chocolate, but like, what else are we not implementing in our exercise regimen or our, you know, our daily meetings, you know, according to where you are in your cycle? Yeah, totally. There's so much potential there. So much potential.
There is.
And so our last question is, what do you think the FemTech industry as a whole needs the most right now in order to be successful?
I definitely feel that we need more allyship, but like real allyship, right? So there's so much of this that is performative when it comes to supporting women in tech. And we need like true leadership and policy that supports it, right? And you know, because there's one thing, you know, to say it, but there's another thing to actually do it and really and whatever that means for your organization, because every organization impacts the industry as a whole. And this even comes in the area of capital, right? So when we talk about providing more, you know, avenue and resources for women in tech, you know, that also includes money and putting money where your mouth is. And so I just think that we're in, you know, this phase where a lot has been said, but now it's time to be accountable to what people have said or promised to really bring change. And it's almost like the scales of justice. Like, how can we balance the scales truly? That's what I think is mostly needed at this point.
I love that. Yeah. With having just passed International Women's Day and all those large corporations being like, women are the best. And I'm like, you don't care about us. You're not.
Exactly. Actually
sponsoring us, donating us. Like,
exactly. Yeah. I actually followed a Twitter account that took every company that made an announcement and posted a statistic of their pay gap between men and women. So it was like, okay, you're supporting women, right? Well, actually, women get paid 60% less at your organization. So do something about that. And I'm like, thank you.
Yes. Enough with your hashtags, enough with your little graphics. Like, I want to see your money, you know? Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
100%. Well, Candace, you are awesome. I love what you're doing. I'm so excited for you. This is so cool. Thanks for a really authentic, vulnerable conversation with me today. Asking lots of personal questions. And, you know, we always learn so much in the show and I appreciate that. Thanks for your time.
Yes. Thanks for having me, Brittany.
Awesome. I just ended the audio. I'm going to save it real fast.
Okay, great. I enjoyed that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Have you fundraised? Like, what's your experience been like with that?
Yeah, you know, I did spend the first few years raising venture capital and it just really wasn't successful for me. And so I raised money in other ways like crowdfunding. We did eventually have some venture funds come on board, like maybe around year 5 and 6. And then, so it's really just been me exploring alternative paths to funding until the market gets it, right? So a lot of it is just, you know, VCs not really understanding beauty. But I think that's changing. But I've definitely had to figure out, you know, other ways to make the company sustainable. Yeah.
Totally. Is there anything I can help you with?
Actually, I will share updates if you can share with your network whenever relevant. That always helps. I'm all about just, you know, leveraging our networks, you know, to get to the right people. So I would just love to keep you posted, especially our hair and health series. If you find that useful, I would love to share that, you know, with your community. So I can definitely send the details on that.
Oh, perfect. All right, before I let you go, we like to ask one last thing. So every episode starts with your voice, introducing yourself. So you'll say, hi, I'm Candace Mitchell, CEO and founder of MyAvana. And FemTech to me is, and you give some kind of statement as to what it is, what FemTech is or means to you. Do you have something you want to say, or you want to think about it with me?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, awesome. Well, then whenever you're ready, just take a breath and go for it.
Okay. So should I say one word or give like a one word and a short blurb?
So you introduce yourself, name, title, company, and then you say FemTech to me is.
Okay, got it.
You can say whatever it means to you or is to you. And
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Hi,
I'm Candace. Okay, it's okay. Hi, I'm Candace Mitchell Harris, founder and CEO of MyAvana. FemTech to me is innovation. We have experiences that are often overlooked, and when we apply that through the lens of technology, we can innovate many industries and many markets. So use that innovative power within you.
Perfect. Cool. I can tell you the exact date your episode is airing. If you give me one second to find it. Oops. Yeah, seriously though, like, I don't know who wants to lead the charge of pubic hair care, but like so far, like
it's wide open.
And I'm like, there's like these behemoths like Unilever and P&G, and it's like, no, they don't have a pubic department. What are they doing?
Right. No, they do not.
All right. Yours is set for May 23rd.
May 23rd. Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. And will you send the links?
I will. Yeah. So it's a Monday. We drop them on Monday. So I'll email you, hey, your episode's live. Here's the links. Please share it. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Alrighty.
I'm excited. Thank you again for having me.
Yes. Thank you so much. Oh, and do you do, like, I don't know, if via the sales process on your website, if you have a promo code or anything you want to offer the listeners?
Yes. Okay. Oh, yes, I could. Actually, I'll create a FemTech promo code and I can send that to you.
Usually what we say is just make a promo code that says FemTech. And
perfect.
I do know for a fact that it does turn in conversion. So we have enough people that have reported back that like the promo code was actually used. So just let me know about, like, and you can, come email me or whatever, but if it's FemTech is the promo code, and how much is it for? Because I'll say it in the intro and exit and say,
perfect.
Okay. Special offer. Go to my promo code FemTech. Yeah. So,
perfect. Right? I will send that over to you today.
Perfect. Awesome. Have a good rest of your day, Candace.
All right. You too, Brittany. All right. Bye-bye.